A new era at Twitter means revisiting the old one. A closer look at the communications just revealed, detailing how decisions were made to block users and content on the site. All eyes on the Baltimore City Council ahead of their meeting tomorrow, what they could do now that the mayor has vetoed their pension plan. The mayor's Christmas parade goes on today despite a police officer shortage almost shutting it down. Why one community leader says perception is the key to bringing in more officers.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Yes, some celebration after a nail-biter today. The Ravens pull off a win despite Lamar Jackson leaving the game with an injury. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Let's get right to Rocco DeSangro with the latest on Lamar Jackson. Rocco?
Yeah, Mary, we await word on Lamar. Coach Harbaugh says Lamar's knee injury is not season-ending and that he expects Lamar to be out days to weeks. We should hear more about that timeline in the coming days. Lamar hadn't missed a snap all season, and then this. On the last play of the first quarter, he was sacked. You see him walking into the locker room there. This is how it happened and what went down beforehand. The quarter ended. He gets sacked, appears to fall on his knee, never returned to the game. Tyler Huntley came in, and while the offense struggled all day long, Huntley and the O saved their best for last. Final minute. Ravens need a touchdown. Huntley, he'd ad-lib and hit Kenyon Drake before this. Gets the Ravens all the way inside the 5. Next play, Huntley keeps it himself, and he plows into the end zone. The Ravens take a 10-9 lead, and they get the win. The Broncos, they had a 63-yard field goal to try and win it, but it comes up just short. The Ravens rally. It pays off with a big win, but they lose their starting quarterback in the process. So Ravens flock took to social media to react to this, and we're going to check out some of the reactions right now. Tom just goes, Lamar, you can have my knee if you need it. And that is a great fan right there. Ravens fans are the best. Bro, we got to re-strategize and get you healthy. Time to make the run, and that's what fans are hoping for. Praying for you and the guys, Lamar. This is not 2021. You'll be back, and the guys will step up during the time of waiting, and that is certainly the hope with this team. Get that knee ready and come back, Lamar. That's Ted saying that right there. Mary, it's such a tough loss. They did get the win, but lose Lamar in the process. Hopefully he gets some rest and he's good to go going forward. Mary, I'm going to send it back to you.
They have to do a little regrouping, that's for sure. Rocco, thank you. We want to see your purple pride. You can send in pictures and videos of how you support the Ravens to our website, foxbaltimore.com/chime in, or use your Fox 45 mobile app. Just click the Explore tab, then chime in. Well, happening now, reaction to the explosive communications that new Twitter CEO Elon Musk just made public. It details the decisions made inside the company to block certain users and briefly prevent a story about then-candidate Joe Biden's son, Hunter, from being shared on the platform. The Department of Justice is investigating Hunter Biden now. Sinclair National correspondent Christine Frizzau has the latest.
On Twitter's decision back in October of 2020, preventing this New York Post report from being shared, top Republicans say the revelations confirm what they asserted years ago, that big tech was working closely with Democrats ahead of the election.
Now we need to start looking at Facebook, at Google. These now have become arms of the Democratic Party, arms of the Biden administration.
The Twitter files shared with journalist Matt Taibbi, who unleashed a long thread on the site, includes emails detailing requests made to Twitter to delete tweets from the, quote, Biden team. The reply would come back handled. He added that while both the Trump White House and the Biden campaign made requests that were received and honored by Twitter, it wasn't balanced since more staffers at Twitter were reportedly Democrats. It also shows decisions to remove links to the Hunter Biden laptop story and of officials blocking transmission via direct message, a tool usually reserved for extreme cases like child pornography. At the time, met with reactions like this.
Never before have we seen active censorship of a major press publication with serious allegations of corruption of one of the two candidates for president.
Now there are renewed questions about why 50 former intelligence officials signed this letter, suggesting the laptop story had the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. They were later labeled as spies who lie.
Our federal agencies, those former intelligence officials, they had a far greater impact on the 2020 election. They interfered with it to a far greater extent than anything Russia ever could have hoped to accomplish.
Some Capitol Hill Democrats are calling the Twitter files a big nothing burger, since both Democrats and Republicans made requests and had them granted, saying it shows how out of touch Republicans are to focus on this instead of the economy. Some even adding it could help them win back the House in 2024. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
We sent questions to Maryland lawmakers, Congressman Kweisi Mfume and Andy Harris, as well as Senators Chris Van Hollen and Ben Cardin, asking, how do you plan to use your power to get to the bottom of this? Do you think there needs to be an investigative hearing into this matter? And are you concerned other social media platforms could have colluded with the Biden campaign? Congressman Mfume's team says they are working on a response. Congressman Harris responded in a statement saying this is a clear reason for Congress to investigate further and to remove protections from social media platforms. You can read the congressman's full response on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Well, all eyes will be on City Council tomorrow as they meet for the first time since Mayor Scott vetoed the council's pension plan. It is not clear if City Council President Nick Mosby will call a vote to try to override the veto, but he does not have the 10 votes needed to.
There will not be an override. The politics are changing. Anybody with any kind of intuition can see this.
Councilman Eric Costello and Mark Conway, who abstained from the original vote, tell Fox 45 News they won't support an override. That would leave Mosby with at least 2 votes shy of the 10 needed. The pension plan was created in response to Question K on the November ballot, which put term limits on elected leaders. It passed with more than 70% of the vote. The pension plan would reduce the amount of time city leaders need to serve in office from 12 to 8 years. Many critics of the plan have called it self-serving. That includes the Baltimore City Police Union, and they're not the only ones.
This is extreme case of self-serving and insider dealing.
This is a part-time job. You shouldn't get a lifetime pension. That was the purpose of Question K. They preempted it. How selfish.
In his inauguration speech almost 2 years ago, the city council president spoke against city politicians pushing self-serving legislation.
We all know that too often petty personal agendas and debilitating short-sightedness has all too often characterized our city politics and created government that produces good headlines for the Baltimore Sun, but entertaining chatter on social media, but not enough progress for our city.
Well, we want to hear from you. Do you think the city council makes decisions with your best interest in mind? So far, 99% of voters say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. In Fox 45 News, we'll continue to follow the pension plan and demand accountability from our elected leaders. Complete coverage of what happens at tomorrow's city council meeting, both on air and on our website, foxbaltimore.com. The mayor's Christmas parade marched through Hamden today, drawing huge crowds to take in all the festivities. But the Christmas parade almost didn't happen because of a shortage of police officers in Baltimore City. Fox 45's Vincent Hill joins us live with a closer look at the officer shortage and the impact it's having on our city. Vincent?
Yeah, Mary, certainly a busy day for Baltimore police. The parade, the Ravens win over the Broncos. But who is answering the hundreds of calls for service for the department? Hundreds of officers short.
Biggest parade in the state, and the city of Baltimore has it.
The bands, the kids, and of course, the Santa hats. But the city of Baltimore almost missed it. Parade organizer Tom Kerr says just weeks before the parade.
She said, well, you have to change the date of the parade. I said, no, we can't change the date of the parade.
Thanks to fundraising by the community, Kerr didn't have to. But the ongoing problem of a police shortage affects more than the Ravens playing on the same day of the parade.
2 major events, the parade and the Ravens game. But then you still have to have police security in communities and neighborhoods.
Reverend Al Hathaway, a community activist, says the shortage for events like the game and parade affect those who need police the most.
So you almost leave them without the kind of proper protection while you're covering events.
Hathaway says he understands the recruitment challenges the Baltimore Police Department has, but says the solution starts within.
How do you mitigate against crime? You have people who know communities, who operate in those communities, who understand the people in those communities.
And the best and brightest recruits are already in Baltimore.
When you think about our colleges and universities, when you think about military service, you would say there's ROTC. But the police cadet program should be embedded in our 7 colleges and universities in Baltimore City.
Outside of recruiting in colleges, Hathaway says the community needs to change how it views police so outside applicants would consider protecting and serving the people of Baltimore.
Since the consent decree, they've been changing their way of policing. We need to also, as community leaders, and myself included, we need to celebrate our police officers and let them know that they're important, they're valuable, and we need them in our service.
Now, to put it into perspective, the Baltimore Police Department is the 8th largest municipal police department in the country. At last check, they were still 400 sworn officers short. This as shootings and other crimes continue to show no end in sight. For now, we're live in Baltimore. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
And Vincent, we're about to report on that. 4 people were shot in Baltimore City over the weekend. 2 of them are teenagers. A 19-year-old woman was shot and killed along Woodmount Avenue in Northeast Baltimore early this morning. A 15-year-old boy was shot in the leg along North Caroline Street in East Baltimore this afternoon. He is expected to survive. At least 313 people have been killed in Baltimore City so far this year. Well, Johns Hopkins University is moving forward with its private police force despite a lawsuit against it. Johns Hopkins and the Baltimore Police Department signed a memorandum for agreement on Friday. A group filed a lawsuit back in September, hoping to slow the process down. A hearing on that is set for December 19th. The private police department has been met with some pushback from students, residents, and some city leaders. City Council had a hearing on the department scheduled in September, but that was canceled. Councilwoman Odette Ramos had called for the hearing. She's one of a few council members who have spoken out against the Johns Hopkins Police Department. At the time, Fox 45 News did send questions to all city council members asking about their stance on the department. Those questions went ignored. Now, Mayor Brandon Scott has not opposed the plan, saying many universities have armed police forces, many in our area as well. You can find more on the Johns Hopkins Police Department on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
I went to the scene and I waited there until they pulled her out.
I spent all day down there waiting for them to pull him out.
Families of the firefighters killed in the line of duty this year sharing their pain with Fox 45 News. Their words and a closer look at the details at a scathing report into the deadly fire.
And it's going to be a cold one tomorrow morning. Temperatures settling down into the 20s. Get your layers ready. I'm going to let you know when we're going to punctuate all this with some rain coming up this work week in my Weather Authority forecast.
There will be an increased police presence at Towson High School once again this week in response to a threat made to the school last week. Now, this is the second time in 2 weeks the Baltimore County Police Department is adding staff to the school. Authorities say the threat is unsubstantiated and the increased security is all out of an abundance of caution. Parents are demanding a face-to-face meeting with school leaders and law enforcement because of the threat. It's not clear if that will happen, though. We continue to follow the Baltimore City Fire Chief's resignation amid a scathing report on the deadly Stricker Street fire in January. The fire claimed the lives of 3 city firefighters. Now their families are sharing their story. Maxine Stryker reports.
The news came as a shock to Baltimore City. The same day, an investigative report was released on the deadly Stricker Street fire. Baltimore City Fire Chief Niles Ford resigns. The report paints a chaotic picture of the response to the vacant row home fire that killed Lieutenant Kelsey Sadler, Lieutenant Paul Buttram, Kenny Lacayo, and injured John McMaster.
I received a phone call from somebody on the scene that said that there had been a collapse and I needed to start heading downtown.
Their families speaking only with us in October, still trying to wrap their heads around what happened.
I went to the scene and I waited there until they pulled her out.
I spent all day down there waiting for them to pull him out.
The report highlights one failure after another within the Baltimore City Fire Department. It describes confusion over which firefighters were on scene that day and who was trapped inside the collapsed, burning structure. Firefighters also expressed concern about a competitive culture within the department, where they were often in a race to arrive first on the scene. But perhaps one of the most glaring problems on that January day, the firefighters had no idea they were walking into an unsafe vacant home that had been on fire twice before. The report says their systems never alerted them, and there was no visible indicator from the outside. The report recommends the department implement a standard operating procedure for responding to vacant home fires and begin marking hazardous vacant homes to warn firefighters of their danger. Last month, the city did begin doing so. It was a reboot of a 2010 program called Code X-Ray, which we've been investigating for months. The program, which marked unsafe blighted properties for first responders, didn't last long after funding ran dry and neighbors complained the signs were an eyesore. Since then, it's been recommended the city mark vacants, but they went nearly a decade and waited until the tragic deaths in January to do so.
But in this case, it wasn't a fire that they stepped into. It was a trap that was already set from the past.
Miller Stern lawyers have been conducting their own investigation and working with the families of the injured and fallen firefighters since the fire occurred. They issued a statement to FOX45 on their behalf regarding the findings of the report. In part, they say this was a vacant property that all firefighters should have been aware of, as it presented a risk to their safety. 205 South Stricker should have been demolished years ago after the first fire there, but the city of Baltimore and our elected officials chose to allocate the city's resources elsewhere. Our firefighters deserve more from us, and no family should have to go through what these families are going through today. Rich Langford, president of the fire union, says whoever will lead the fire department next has a lot of work ahead of them.
Establishing morale in this department, stability, that is what this department's been lacking for many, many years now, is the stability. We have people coming and going left and right. We need to put an end to that. We need people to come here, stay for a career.
And that was Maxine Stryker reporting. You can read their full statement right now on foxbaltimore.com.
I was out this afternoon with Jasmine Lomax at the Mayor's Holiday Parade. Just an absolutely gorgeous but chilly day for sure. And I think you're going to have to keep those jackets out for tonight and tomorrow as well. After highs in the 60s yesterday, only 40s today, and now below freezing at BWI. 31. Winds are calm. Our humidity is at 75%. Temperatures all across the board right at or just below freezing. It is going to be a cold one. Heaters are going to be certainly kicking on overtime overnight into early tomorrow morning. Temperatures all running about 15 to 25 plus degrees below where they were same time yesterday evening. So I guess really not a surprise with some fair weather high pressure setting up. There's some snow way up there toward Montreal and portions of southern Canada and northern Michigan. There's some rain down to the south around Memphis and Atlanta. And some portions of this are going to be our next weather maker moving north. For now, cold fair weather high pressure is our fair weather friend, but keeping us cold into our Monday morning. The clear skies tomorrow, still mostly sunny, we'll say, but then the rain down to our south, that probably gets here for Tuesday, and it may make an extended stay on and off for the remainder of the week, although the good news is milder temperatures, so no snow concerns. But the future scan overnight into early tomorrow morning, going to the 20s to around 30 by noontime tomorrow. A few extra clouds here and there. We're going to say a mostly sunny Monday, but high temperatures probably again in the mid-40s to near 50. And there you go. The showers begin to approach Tuesday early at 6:15 in the morning. Doesn't look extremely heavy, but on and off, sprinkle showers, light rain here and there through the day on Tuesday. And it looks like on and off through much of the rest of the week. Not going to be wet all the time, but we are going to have better chances of rain. 26, mostly clear skies for tonight. So again, you'll need the scrapers out tomorrow morning. 51, near normal for tomorrow with mostly sunny skies. Should be at 51 for an average high. And then rain and drizzle on and off for Tuesday, 54. Look at that, 62 on Wednesday. A passing shower early. That's a drier day. But rain and drizzle comes back for Thursday again. It's kind of a prolonged on and off system here with 61 Thursday, dropping to 58 on Friday, rain and breezy, and even some spot showers into next weekend with highs in the low and mid-50s.
Jonathan, thank you. We're just 2 days away from the runoff election in Georgia. Hear the candidates' closing arguments and take a look at what's at stake. Inflation putting a bit of damper on a holiday tradition, how it's impacting the price of Christmas trees. All eyes on Georgia right now ahead of the runoff election on Tuesday. Democratic incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock is facing off against Republican challenger Herschel Walker.
Our problem we have right now, we decided to get the wrong leaders in Washington. We got to get people in Washington that's going to stand up.
He was an amazing running back. And he will need those skills because come Tuesday, we're going to send him running back to Texas. We're going to send him running back to where he received his homestead tax exemption.
Democrats secured control of the Senate, winning 50 seats during the midterm election last month. Senate Republicans are hoping to gain a seat in order to keep a 50-50 split. A recent CNN poll shows Warnock holds a narrow lead over Walker. Well, OPEC says it won't increase oil output as Western sanctions against Russia are about to kick in. That announcement comes as two measures are set to take effect tomorrow, including a European boycott on Russian oil and a $60 price cap on Russian exports imposed by the EU and G7 nations. Now, those measures are meant to hamper Russia's ability to finance its war against Ukraine. OPEC slashed production in October, citing weaker global demand, and says it needs to stay that course to stabilize markets. Well, some experts sounding the alarm tonight about a medication being used off-label. A closer look at their concerns in tonight's Full Measure report. A medication being used off-label is coming under scrutiny tonight. Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson has more on its addictive qualities and side effects and whether the FDA will get involved.
Leo Ashline is in an alternative band called Street Sex in Austin, Texas. Here in Russia in 2019, he was 9 years sober after a cocaine and alcohol addiction. That was just before his battle with Gabapentin began. He was given the medicine for anxiety. The FDA originally approved Gabapentin in 1993 for seizure disorder, then later for nerve pain after shingles rash. Doctors now prescribe it for all kinds of unapproved or off-label uses. As a former addict, Ashline was relieved by his prescriber's assurances.
I told her about my history with addiction, and she said this is a drug for anxiety that's safe for people with addiction issues.
How much would you say you were taking and for how long?
I mean, it got to the point where I would take 15 to 20 sometimes in a night.
He had blackouts, started using crack cocaine again, pawned his belongings, and lost everything. Ashline says he lived that way for about 3 months until he checked himself into rehab on New Year's Eve, 2021.
Virtually all of gabapentin that's being prescribed are for indications that were not approved by the FDA.
Michael Abrams is a senior health researcher with Public Citizen. He says today, gabapentin is often given with opioids, and it's proving to be addictive and deadly. Public Citizen has filed a petition to have gabapentin prescriptions controlled under the Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, making it what's called a Schedule 5 drug.
It would require that anybody who prescribes gabapentin has to be licensed with the Drug Enforcement Administration to handle a controlled substance.
Dr. Brian Callahan of the University of Michigan is against new controls on gabapentin.
Nerve pain is super common, and gabapentin is effective, and we don't have that many things that are effective. And so I think it's important to have it be available to patients, whereas this regulation kind of would do the opposite.
It's been a rough road, but Ashline is clean again, back with his girlfriend and making music with his bandmate after a 1.5-year loss.
It just kind of seems like maybe there should be more information, there should be more of a warning associated with it, you know.
On the one hand, while gabapentin is being prescribed for an ever-widening variety of ailments, on the other hand, the government is giving out millions of dollars in taxpayer-funded grants to study its impact on and role in the opioid epidemic. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
And you can watch Full Measure Sundays on Fox 45 at 10 a.m. Well, not the first time we've said it this year. Another ugly win for the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson out. How the team's backup quarterback willed them to win.
In the opioid epidemic. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
And you can watch Full Measure Sundays on Fox 45 at 10 a.m. Well, not the first time we've said it this year. Another ugly win for the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson out. How the team's backup quarterback Well, the Christmas spirit filled Hartford County today with the Bel Air Christmas Parade. A viewer sent in these pictures of the parade, which featured several floats, bands, even some dogs. were part of the parade today. Another Christmas tradition is turning out to be more expensive this year. The price of Christmas trees is way up. Experts say it's because inflation has the cost of growing trees going up, paired with a low supply.
A lot of the farmers were getting older and kind of aging out anyway, so a lot of the smaller and medium-sized growers just went ahead and went out of business. So we're anticipating that it'll take a couple of more years before the supply equals the demand.
Well, despite the higher prices, experts say it doesn't look like fewer people are buying Christmas trees this year. That's all for the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thanks so much for watching. Rocco DeSangro and Alex Parker join us now with Sports Unlimited. Rocco and Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. This game was like a roller coaster ride. Tons of ups, downs, loop-de-loops with it. Ravens flock, hopefully your stomach has settled after that one.
While the Ravens got the win, this one may have come with a very high cost. The moment that had fans thinking, oh no, not again.
And here is the moment. Lamar Jackson left today's game after banging up his knee and would not return. The severity of the injury and how long QB1 is expected to miss.
With Lamar out, Tyler Huntley was in. He saved his best for last. We will hear from the backup/winning quarterback.
And after blowing a fourth quarter lead against the Jags, the Ravens defense stood tall. The big plays they made down the stretch keep the Broncos out of the end zone when Sports Unlimited returns. All right, let's dive right into it. You've probably seen the news by now. The Ravens could be without star quarterback Lamar Jackson for the near future after he suffered a knee injury in the first quarter of Sunday's game. Jackson went to the medical tent, then the locker room, and was ruled out for the remainder of the contest. And that's where we begin our show. Welcome into Sports Unlimited. I'm Rocco. He's Alex. Chaos in the final 5 minutes of the game with Lamar out. Tyler Huntley, like he did last year against Chicago, led the Ravens to a come-from-behind win.
With concern for Lamar serving as a sobering backdrop, a wild football game unfolded. It went down to the wire. Here's how the Ravens got it done.
To the highlights we go. We begin in the second quarter. Huntley came in, no real time to warm up, and he talked about that after. And he led the Ravens to their first scoring drive. This 22-yard catch and run by Mark Andrews led to a Justin Tucker field goal. That tied the game at 3. Still in the second quarter, Russell Wilson from his own end zone, deep to Jerry Jeudy for 40 yards, and that would lead to a field goal to put the Broncos up 6-3. Let's go to the final seconds of the first half. Ravens out of timeouts. Huntley to Andrews. The Ravens, they're going to scramble to try to kill the clock, to get Tucker on for a field goal, but not enough time. And Mark's frustrated. You can see why. He's got 2 Broncos laying on him. And he was ticked off afterwards. You can see him slamming his helmet on the sidelines. Pretty ugly half for Baltimore. Third quarter. Did someone say ugly? Huntley, under pressure, throws it right to Justin Simmons, who gets the pick, one of the easiest he'll ever get in his career. So the fourth quarter, the Ravens, they're going to go into the bag of tricks. And we just thought that was one of the easiest picks for Simmons. Think again. James Prochet throws it deep into traffic, and not a great result at all. Picked off by Simmons. Final drive for Baltimore. Still 9-3. Ravens have 4th and 1 from their own 18. They go to Mark Andrews, direct snap. Second effort gets it later in the drive. A 4th and 2. Huntley is going to keep it, and he'll get the first down. So the Ravens, they still have hopes of pulling this thing out. Then Huntley wants to go to Kenyon Drake. Little backyard football. Fakes out the defender, lets the ball fly, hits Drake, who gets by the defender, and he dives ahead for more, puts the Ravens inside the 5. Next play, Huntley, not to be denied. He scores. M&T Bank Stadium goes nuts. The extra point gives the Ravens a 10-9 lead with just seconds to go. Russell Wilson got the Broncos in very long field goal range. And then on the game's final play, Brandon McManus from 63 yards out. Not enough. The Ravens win a wild one and perhaps a very costly one. 10-9, the final score. So let's check out the big board. With the win, the Ravens improved to 8-4. The game's only touchdown was Huntley's run in the final minute. The big question after the game, the status of starting quarterback Lamar Jackson. And that's exactly what John Harbaugh was asked in his post-game presser.
Lamar has it's a knee, but it's not a season-ending type of knee. We'll get more tests tomorrow and let you know how long it's going to be. We'll see. Hopefully I'll have something for you tomorrow afternoon, certainly by Wednesday. Be more definitive, but it's going to be a number, days to weeks. We'll see. We'll see if he can go back this week. If not, it'll be sometime after that shortly.
So now we wait. This isn't Tyler Huntley's first rodeo, though. The Ravens' backup quarterback faced a similar situation last year when Lamar went down, appearing in 7 games and getting some valuable experience. As expected, there was a bit of rust. Not seeing a wide-open Mark Andrews, then throwing a brutal pick. But he settled in on the team's final drive, marched them down the field, and as a result, the Ravens came away with the big win.
Everybody was basically like, we were all talking to each other, telling us like, hey, we need points here. That's the only way we're going to win this game. So all us stay calm, focused on the play that was called at that time, and we just try to execute the best way that we can.
I mean, just so much confidence. I think you see the way he plays, and things weren't perfect, but for him to be able to come in and especially that last drive and do what he did and have the composure that he had, just shows you how good he really is. How much he's learned. I'm thinking about Lamar, but you got to tip your hat to Snoop. Just how well he played, man. It's impressive football.
So Lamar Jackson or no Lamar Jackson, the Ravens' offense has been awful in the first half of the last 3 games. In those contests, the team has been unable to score a touchdown in the first 3 quarters, and if that's happening against a 3-win team or 3-win teams, that's not a great sign going forward. Play calling hasn't been great. Same thing with the execution. The Ravens snuck away with one today, but field goals alone are not going to get them wins against the best in the league.
We just got to be more efficient. Just keep on plugging along. Like I said, we have a ton of confidence, a ton of playmakers, guys stepping up, making plays. Just look at Isaiah Likely, going down, but then making a big play on those 2-minute drives. We have a bunch of guys like that. So we're just going to get better and better. We're not going to we're not going to get too down because we know we have a dangerous offense. But I'm excited about, the future of this and for us, as players and our coaches to keep on striving to be better. That's what is beautiful about this team is that we have a bunch of guys that want to be great.
So the man they call Snoop, I'm not talking D-O-double-G, drove the Ravens down the field. That's Tyler Huntley scoring the game-tying touchdown. Then Justin Tucker delivered the final nail through the coffin. Rookie Tyler Linderbaum. He's been in some close ones, and whether it's a nail-biter or a blowout, a win is a win is a win. Tyler, it wasn't the prettiest of wins, but you guys got it done. 10-9 victory over the Broncos. How does this one feel?
Yeah, it feels awesome. Obviously didn't play the way we wanted on the offense, but the defense played awesome. Then when it came time to put points on the board, we did it. So I'm just happy that we got the win today.
Offensively, you guys have really struggled in the first half. Why do you think that is?
I think that's on us. We got to start faster. There's a lot of things that go into it, but, just us kind of getting in a rhythm. Especially today, I didn't feel like we were in a rhythm as much. Losing yards right away, hurting ourselves with penalties and stuff like that. That's stuff that we need to clean up as players, and, which I think we will. We have a lot of good athletes on that offensive side of the ball. Defense is putting us in great positions, so that's something that we're going to have to clean up. And I'm happy that we ended on a win and we can learn from that.
When Lamar goes out, Tyler Huntley comes in the game. What are you guys thinking as an offensive line?
Oh, full confidence in Snoop. He's tremendous in the huddle. Plays with confidence, and obviously you lose someone like Lamar. Lamar's pretty hard to replace, but Snoop does a great job. Coming in and doing his thing.
One Tyler showing respect to another. Well, we're talking all about the offense, but we cannot forget about the defense. 1 week after blowing a fourth quarter lead against the Jags, Mike McDonald's unit they just embraced the bend, don't break mentality. Yeah, they gave up points, but only 9. And more important than anything, they held Russell Wilson and the Broncos out of the end zone, giving the offense a chance to win the game.
I think that's our mentality always as a defense, and to be the best in the league at what we do. I think the mindset, you never give up anything and they won't score. So if you have that mindset, that's a mindset for success.
That brings us to our Twitter question of the night. Can the Ravens make a run without Lamar Jackson if he does miss significant time? I'm at Rocco DeSangro on Twitter. Let me know what you think, and we'll have some of your responses later on in the show. And Alex, what do you think? The Ravens travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers next Sunday.
I think they can. I don't know, make a run. How far, I don't know. I don't think there's an insane drop-off. Listen, we know who QB1 is. It's Lamar. He's out 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. But we've seen Huntley do this before. He's been effective. The system appears to be the same. I think there's something about backup quarterbacks that teams rally behind. We've seen it in Washington with Taylor Heineke, who probably isn't as talented as the starter there, but for whatever reason, they've rallied behind this guy. Everybody wants Lamar Jackson back as soon as possible. In the interim, schedule helps. Pittsburgh, not exactly an offensive juggernaut, last I checked. Cleveland Browns, not exactly an offensive juggernaut, last I checked. So we will see. But they've got some very winnable games against some teams that I don't think they have to go out and score 34 to beat. So we will find out. But here's hoping Lamar is back soon. Ravens entered today tied with the Bengals atop the AFC North. Ravens held serve first. Then the Bengals hosted Kansas City in the late window. Sweet ball game, picking up in the third quarter. Tied at 17. Patrick Mahomes going to leap into the end zone with the ball. Touchdown. Drops the ball. Did he break the plane? Refs take a look. Is it enough? Is it enough? And they said it was enough. Chiefs up 24-17 to the fourth quarter. Going to be 24-20. Bengals driving. Joe Burrow to Chris Evans. He scores with relative ease. Since he wins 27-24, watch out. Bengals have won 6 of their last 7. Browns at Texans. First game for new Cleveland quarterback Deshaun Watson, who was suspended the first 11 games for sexual misconduct allegations, playing his former team, as fate would have it. First quarter, Watson's picked by Jalen Petrie. Watson did not have a great game. That was an awful throw. But lucky for him, the Browns defense and the Browns special teams had insane games. This is Donovan Peoples-Jones. Makes him miss, kind of makes him miss. Stays on his feet, kind of making people miss. 76 yards. Browns also scored 2 defensive touchdowns. They win 27-14. Steelers at Falcons. Pittsburgh's Kenny Pickett is going to hit Connor Hayward wide open. I mean, like, where is everybody? Anybody see the defense in Atlanta? 17-yard touchdown. Steelers up 13-3. Final minute, Falcons desperate. They need to get a field goal somehow, some way. It ain't going to happen. Marcus Mariota picked by Minkah Fitzpatrick. Pittsburgh wins 19-16. They've won 2 in a row. So the Ravens and Bengals remain tied atop the AFC North. Baltimore holds the tiebreaker. This could very well come down to the last week of the season with Baltimore at Cincinnati in Week 18. The Commanders at the Giants. We're going to pick this thing up late fourth quarter. Giants are up 20-13. Taylor Heineke to Jahan Dotson. Great run after the catch. Tie the game at 20. This thing went to overtime. How many games are going down to these kicks that are like that? 58-yard field goal to win it for the Giants, or not. It's short. Game ends 20-all. Commanders have a bye. Then these two teams will meet again in Landover in 2 weeks. What a championship weekend for some of our high school football teams, with 3 of them competing for state titles.
And the Terps are going bowling. Well, they knew that earlier in the year, but today they found out their destination and opponent. Details when Sports Unlimited rolls on. The area was well represented in Annapolis as three of our local teams look to bring home state championships in football. Arundel, Milford Mill, and Dunbar all in action. How about the Dunbar Poets winning their second straight state championship and their 12th overall? Shout out to them, the Poets. Pete Patuxent, 22-13. 1 year after falling in the state title game, Milford Mill, they reigned supreme, beating Kent Island 25-16 for the 2A crown. And Arundel finishes as the 4A, 3A state runner-up, falling to North Point 31-14. Listen, congratulations to all three of our local teams on making it to the final game of the season. That's awesome stuff.
The very imperfect college football playoff announced its Final Four today. It is as many expected, although it is not without controversy. Here goes. Georgia is 1. They will play number 4 Ohio State, who lost to Michigan last week. But the Buckeyes are in. Michigan is 2. They will play TCU, who stayed at 3, despite losing the Big 12 championship yesterday. The semifinals will be played New Year's Eve. Meanwhile, Maryland Terps are going bowling for the second straight season. I hope they like mayonnaise. Maryland will take on NC State in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. This is the deal where the winning coach gets doused with a tub, and I mean a tub of mayonnaise as part of the post-game celebration. The Duke's Mayo Bowl is December 30th in Charlotte.
So College Park, it's the place to be right now. The football team is bowling and the men's basketball team is rolling. 8-0 on the year after a big-time win over Illinois, and that place was absolutely rocking on a Friday night. Maryland tested for the first time this season, and the Terps passed and shot and scored. Jameer Young led the way with 24 points, and the dagger 3 with less than 20 seconds to go as Maryland beats the Fighting Illini, showing the nation that this team's for real.
Up next, a Ravens legend is honored, plus your responses to tonight's Twitter question, could they make a run without Lamar?
Odafe Owe wanted to make a jump in year 2, and he still can, but the former first-round pick has definitely struggled to get to the quarterback this year. Today, though, he came up big, registering his second sack of the season in the fourth quarter. A feel-good moment for him. I caught up with him one-on-one to talk about it. Odafe, you've been struggling to get to the quarterback this season. You get a big sack today, your second of the year. How good did that feel to be able to do that?
Oh, yeah, it felt good, man, especially because, it was in a good situation for us to help the team, man, get us off the field. I definitely felt good for me. I breathed a big breath of fresh air and said finally, and, give thanks to God, but hopefully that's going to open it up for more, you know what I mean?
How good does a win like this feel for the defense, a grinded-out win where you hold them to just 9 points?
Feels good, like I said, our defense keeps steadily growing, keeps steadily inclining, and, it's just a little glimpse of what we're supposed to be, Hopefully we can get a shutout soon, probably next game, in the future, something like that. But it's just an indication of what we're supposed to be like. What was the team's mindset when Lamar goes down with the injury and Tyler Huntley comes into the game? Obviously we don't want to lose our leader like Lamar. He's such a prolific athlete, player. But we knew we had somebody in Snoop. And to be honest, we see him do it in practice all the time. It's not even a drop off. So, I'm happy for Snoop. Happy that y'all can see, what type of player he is. But we knew he was going to do that. What were the vets telling you after you got that sack? Told you. Just just let it come to you. Don't force it, and control your control.
Let's take a look at your responses to our question of the night. Can the Ravens make a run without Lamar? And we got a ton of them. Blackhawk goes DeSangro, my man. The score was 10-9. The kicker almost won the game for the Broncos. Greg Roman couldn't move the offense until the fourth quarter. I'm going to say no Lamar, no playoffs. I don't usually go by my last name of Blackhawk. I'll allow it for you. No Lamar. The offensive coaching has been less than subpar against inferior opponents. I can't imagine us going against KC, Buffalo, Tennessee, the big teams, with this offensive type of output. Embarrassing. Yes, for sure. Debbie thinks that Huntley can do it for the Ravens. And you know what? We're going to continue to do this next week. Hit me up at Rocco DeSangro on Twitter. Alex, what do you got?
I'm with Debbie. The Ravens celebrated the career of fan favorite and longtime offensive lineman Marshall Yanda today. Yanda was inducted into the team's Ring of Honor, played 13 seasons, all of them right here in Baltimore. Yanda made the Pro Bowl 8 times, was named All-Pro twice, a key cog on so many playoff runs, including the 2012 Super Bowl championship team.
All my teammates I went to battle with on Sundays, I thank you. We all did it together. We won that world championship together. And I will cherish all those memories in the locker room after all those big wins. You don't remember a lot of the plays, but celebrating with your teammates in the locker room is something I'll never forget.
Congrats to Marshall and his family. To recap, the Ravens behind Tyler Huntley rallied to beat the Broncos. John Harbaugh says Lamar's knee injury is, quote, not season-ending. Says Lamar should be out days to weeks and that they will know more in the coming days. Ravens are at Pittsburgh next Sunday. Coach Harbaugh will speak with the media tomorrow about 2:30-ish. We will have the very latest online and on air right here on Fox 45 about Lamar Jackson's knee injury.
Yeah, that'll do it for this edition of Sports Unlimited. He's Alex, I'm Rocco. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.